All right, we'll now call the March 28th regular city council meeting to order. Please rise to the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation given by Councilwoman Brittany Boyer.
Dear Lord, thank you for this wonderful evening. Thank you for your protection and for your wisdom this evening, Lord, as we go through each one of these items. I ask that you bless each and every one of us here as we try to do the work that you would have us do. Keep us healthy and safe in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire.
Here.
Councilmember McCare. Here. Councilmember Taylor. Here. Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. First up, we have Ms. Brenda Gray, the Heartland Coalition for the Homeless. They have a request to use the community center building for April 14th.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. My name is Brenda Gray. I am the Executive Director for Heartland Coalition for the Homeless. We provide rental assistance for homeless folks throughout 6 counties. The federal government has given our agency, which is a 501c3, funds to help people in all 6 of our counties that's been struggling with rent because of COVID-19. I've held this event in all 5 of my counties except for Highlands County. We still have some funds available. I'm here to ask that you all, this council, will allow our agency to host, it's called a tabling event, where we have applications. I have some applications here. And so folks can come in and apply for rental assistance. This is not for homeowners. This is for rental assistance. And I'm asking that you, on use of the community center, that you all will waive the fees for us.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Ms. Gray?
Is this going to be like an all day? What are the hours of this?
This is gonna be, I think it's from 2 o'clock, from 9 o'clock to 2.
9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah, and we'll set up at around 8:30.
Okay.
And then we hope that by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we'll be breaking down.
Any other questions? No questions?
Yes, I have a question. Ms. Gray,
Yes,
how many do you expect to show up here?
I really don't know. We have a pre-registration. I have, like I said, I have some applications here. You can pick them up. We're gonna put this in the newspaper that I have a special telephone number that folks can call, that you can already have the application filled out and drop it off on the 19th, but we won't start reviewing. This is strictly for Highlands County. Avon Park, Lake Placid, Stephen, DeSoto, DeSoto City, in your little town or area in Highlands County.
Okay.
So is this gonna be like a little seminar, or they can bring in their application and do what they need to do and walk out the door?
They can get the application, they can fill it out, drop it off on the 14th, April 14th. We will start reviewing them and have a team put together that we're going to go through the application. It's about 5 different items that the clients are going to need. That's your current lease agreement, your social security cards, your income verification, your Florida ID, and your late notice. You gotta be late. You gotta have a late notice from your landlord saying that, hey, look, you're late on your rent and we're here to help you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I got one more, sorry.
Sure.
The reason why I'm asking is because, I may know somebody here.
Here,
They need this assistance, and I need to be able to give them the right information and send them up there, okay? What is the difference of fall behind on your rent opposed to falling behind on your mortgage? What is the difference with the system? Why one opposed to the other?
because mortgage is home ownership
Okay,
and we don't do home ownership. My grant is strictly for rental assistance.
okay.
Mhm.
It's a federal grant, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
good.
So it's just whatever the guidelines of the federal agency.
Yeah, that's not my rule. That's the federal government rule.
Okay.
Are these for one-time payments or are these supposed to last?
No, we will help up until my grant ends 3rd of June. So if you're behind 3 months now, and then we decide that we can get it caught up, and this is for April, and then if you can convince us that, hey, look, I still need some help for May and June, we'll help you there. I want to spend all my money. I don't want to give any of it back.
And Ms. Gray, do they have to show some type of proof of why they fell behind?
No, just COVID-19, because in reality, what we've been told that most folks have been affected by COVID. Either they had a job, lost a job, need a job, can't find a job, whatever.
Don't want a job.
No, that ain't one of them.
You said it.
You have to show some type of due diligence.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve, item B4 to go ahead and waive the fee for the community center for Heartland Coalition for Homeless.
Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you all so much.
thank you. Emily.
Item number 5, we have a proclamation for the Week of Young Child, April 2nd through the 8th. I get it here. All right, whereas the Avon Park Community Child Development Center, Inc. and RCMA and other local organizations in conjunction with the National Association for the Education of Young Children are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 2nd through the 8th, 2022. And whereas these organizations are working to improve early learning opportunities, including early literacy programs that can provide a foundation of learning for children in Avon Park, Florida. And whereas teachers and others who make a difference in the lives of young children in Avon Park deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures. Now therefore, I, Garrett Anderson, Mayor of the City of Avon Park, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2nd through the 8th, 2022 as the Week of the Young Child. All right. Oh, I didn't see you. Sorry. Yes, ma'am. What can we do for you? Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming.
The executive director, we would like to invite someone to come out and read that Wednesday, April 6th.
I'd like to volunteer our city attorney for that. All right, so you said Wednesday, the
April 6th, 9 or 9:30.
April 6th. Anyone volunteer for that?
Volunteer, but I have a full-time job, and I'm not sure if I can get away that day.
Okay, does anyone else volunteer?
Can't do it. Can't for 2 days a week.
So what day is it? If I'm here on Monday, I'm in Tampa on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So what day is it?
Wednesday, April 6th.
It Wednesday, but that's next week.
Yes, what about Thursday?
I'm coming Thursday. Okay. I'm coming Thursday. I'm coming Thursday.
Okay.
Not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
All right, you have a volunteer. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. All right, item number 6, it's the consent agenda, the minutes from March 14th, 2022. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion for March 14th, 2022.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Changes.
Yes, I think that some of the minutes should be revised.
All right, which section?
The section where it talks about Circle Street, I think that you was very adamant about not putting speed bumps there.
Okay,
And I thought that was important, but you know, that's just my opinion. And in that section, you are not even mentioned.
Do you have specific sections or?
When it talked about Circle Street, putting the
So
bumps,
the G number 10, discussion of intersection of Circle Street and North Delaney Avenue.
yes, there's nowhere that you even mentioned in that. And I thought we was very adamant about not getting them there, and I thought that was important.
Okay,
Another section, when it comes to, the parking space of the Rickle Building,
okay,
I was very adamant about that, about the Brickell Building. In order to do residential spaces comes with the Brickell Building, the parking spaces. And I think the only thing that was mentioned in there, which I thought was very, very small, and it was Council Taylor felt they had already given a lot.
okay.
Given a lot on what, everything, or I think somewhere should have been connected that I didn't think that they should have gotten a parking space without having a residential. And yeah, I did say that. I think they had given I think that they had been given a lot.
They didn't get a parking space without.
No, they didn't get parking space without it, but just like you was adamant on speed bumps, I was adamant on that part as well.
Okay,
And
so,
can I keep going?
well, sure, I was just gonna tell you that this is obviously a very brief synopsis of the meeting, but everything is filmed. So there's a
Everything
vi-
is what?
There's a video.
Right.
It's
I even-
hours long and has lots of information.
I even listened to it. And the other one was, I was under the impression when we talked about the closing of South Lake Boulevard,
Okay.
that I wasn't gonna make a decision on anything going forward until I had the opportunity to do so,
Which we did not.
which you did not, but as I listened to the recording today, what were you going forward?
Going forward, receiving the road from the county,
Okay.
which we
And-
have to do whether we want to or not.
Right, and the last one is, as I read the minutes, and this is not the first time this has happened, but it has happened quite often enough for me to say something about it. There are things that's being discussed. And when I look at the minutes, and I'm like, we didn't discuss that, we never even talked about that, but yet still it appeared in the meeting.
Do you have a
Minutes.
specific thing?
It's a lot of little chatter on the, there's a lot of little chatter on the minutes. And I'm like, make me think I'm going crazy here, like, I don't remember discussing that.
Is there anything specific?
Any, not necessarily specific at this moment,
Okay, well, the next time it happens, pick it out specifically,
okay?
and then watch the video and cross-reference. And if it's wrong,
And I did that today.
Okay.
And when I listened to it, I'm like, I listened to the meeting because I had already looked at the minutes, and it was things on there that I'm like, okay, I need to go back to the video and listen, and it wasn't even discussed. So I'm a little concerned about the minutes.
well, like I said, you have to pick something out.
Okay, so
They're all-
I'm gonna say here going forward, I'm gonna be very precise of listening to what happens here and what is in the minutes.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good. Like I said before, we do have a video of every meeting, that's public record, so anybody that wants to see it can.
And Mayor, don't get me wrong, I know that everything can't go into the minutes, I understand that.
It's also recorded by a human.
Right, but I also think that there are pertinent information that should appear in there that I don't think it is.
So this is exactly why we asked to approve the minutes. It's for this exact reason. Any more notes that you have, this is when you do. Anything else? We have a motion and a second. If no further questions, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor.
No.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Councilwoman Taylor, I want to ask you if you made the changes that you wanted to see, why would you not approve them?
If I made the changes that I wanted to see.
Yes, did you not suggest the changes that you wanted to see and those were entered into the record?
So that's what you was doing, doing the revision? Because I didn't understand we were voting on the revision or we were
Yes,
just voting on the name?
That's exactly what we did, yes.
Oh, I didn't hear the.
That's why I
revision
asked for
part.
any questions or changes.
No, but I didn't hear the revision part that, we're gonna revise the minutes according to, so is that what we did?
Yes,
Well. I
whenever you
thought-
have suggestions for changes, so long as you make a suggestion and no one opposes it, then the record is changed.
I'm sorry, I just didn't hear the word revision.
All right. Item number 7, is the public hearing for the second reading of ordinance number 4-2022.
Ordinance of the City of Avon Park, Florida, providing recitals after council intent, amending city code, section 98-5, by amending the payment plan alternatives to clarify that in the event of non-payment for required capacity fee, the solvency of the business, the city would limit the capacity of the unit to only the amount paid for, providing for clarification in the field of conflicting codes, ordinances, and resolutions, providing for such providing effective date.
Okay, as I said, this is the second reading, so this will be a public hearing. Public hearing for ordinance number 4-2022 is now open. Anyone wishing to speak on the commercial capacity fee payment plans can now do so. Don't see anyone jumping for the microphone. Public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve item number C7.
Do we have a second?
I seconded it.
Okay, just to be clear, that was a motion and a second for ordinance number 4-2022. Second reading. If there's no further questions, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Michelle,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Resolution number 2022-07, this is the State of Florida Department of Transportation memorandum of agreement. I see Melody's name there.
Okay, so you have before you an agreement that we have with DOT for state highway mowing, litter removal, and mechanical sweeping agreement. We enter into an agreement every 3 years. This year, the annual fee, we also have a revised sheet in there. So this year, the mowing agreement for the 3 years is $115,950. The last agreement we had was $112,200. So it's an increase of $1,250 per year. They contact us and verify what we're mowing and, miles and acres and that kind of thing.
Much appreciate that. Any questions on this?
Yes, I got a question for Melanie. Melanie, how long have we had this contract with the state?
I would have to get back with you on that, years, I'm sure.
Probably decades.
Yes,
And have we always met the requirements set forth?
as far as I'm aware, yes.
That we didn't even have to pay any retainage deficiency fees?
No, not that I'm aware of, but I'd have to look at that.
Sometimes they come by and they inspect it. They got us last year, they wanted it, the bridge coming in from the south end into the city, they wanted it swept. To get with something.
They just need little minor stuff.
Yes. This is what one when we had inmates out there, they took care of all.
And my next question is, do we always use whatever, like you said, it's $115,950.09? Do we always use it?
We use what they give us. It's probably more than that, but
Yeah,
I would have to break it down, but that's the agreement that they work with us. It's probably cost the city more than that.
It's always been my understanding it costs us substantially more than what we get paid. But we have to do it either way, so. Any other questions? Seeing none. Entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve item number D8.
Excuse me,
Yes.
there's a resolution that needs to be read.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Jerry, you want to read the resolution? What do we do about that?
Ordinances.
You have time?
Whereas the State Board Department of Transportation has proposed that DOT proposes to compensate the agency for maintenance and operation of lighting on the state highway system. Here referred to as project, and whereas in order that the DOT proceed with the project is necessary for the city of New Park. Hereafter referred to as the UAO to execute the to the DOT agreement identified as a state highway lighting maintenance and compensation agreement. Here has been referred to as agreement now, therefore, we resolve item UAO that Garrett Anderson, Mayor, be hereby authorized and directed to execute and order the agreement to the DOT, certified copy of resolution before the DOT. Along with the executed agreement, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
Melanie?
There's a problem with the resolution. It's actually the mowing and litter removal and mechanical sweeping compensation agreement. So in the body of the resolution, it refers to lighting.
Okay. So, are you gonna bring something back to us? or-
Yeah, just get them to change that.
Yeah.
Authorize it on the basis of what we discussed and, we can still sign it.
Okay,
The council approves it.
Okay, so just so the council understands, we're approving a mowing contract, not a lighting contract. And the amounts are correct.
yes, yes, sir.
So is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve item number D8, resolution 2022-07, the state highway litter removal and county treatment compensation agreement.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 9, we have the agreement and lease for the development and transfer of the Berkeley building. As you'll recall, at our last meeting, the council had wanted to hear some information from Jeff Schmucker about some potential prohibited uses. There's also some contract language that went to be discussed as well. So I'll turn it over to the city attorney.
So we did talk about this on Friday, the 11th hour, and we tried to get everything done, but apparently there's what you have is not the final copy, and there's a version that went out today in the afternoon that apparently has some issues in it that we had already resolved, but still showed up. So I guess we talked about it. If you have issues with what you see, most of it is, as you can see in here, I'll point out some of the things that are not correct. And I'll do the same thing. We had,
For the record, we have Kyle Thomas, the representation for Mr. Saul.
as I was out of the office, and I moved to Gulf Springs, so just got done all. So 3.1, it talks about necessary, discusses the one vanilla box construction. Completed in compliance with the agreement RFP and proposal. I understood that had all been removed and it was just going to be the CO. And was, I guess they felt pretty confident that the CO is going to include everything that we need more for it to be a usable building. Anyway.
CO is what was advertised.
So, so that would be one change that I see here. See, there are changes before that, but, because I think,
So I can't speak to the copy that you have in front. I've seen 3 copies in the last 3 business days, so I don't know which copy we're looking at. They're all significantly different.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to which one that is in front of you. And
So we're
probably
trying-
the red line doesn't even match up to the copy from Friday.
So do you have the copy that was discussed in the conference with
I
the
do for Friday afternoon.
So
Vanilla box is not in that copy.
Right.
But that's still in the copy that y'all are looking at.
that's not the copy that we're looking at. I just, okay, yeah, it's very.
Well, it's trying to get done in a short amount of time, a very short amount of time. With a pretty complex contract with government working for and so on. So we have Jeff here tonight to discuss some of the possible covenants that we go over. And I think as far as the contract language and so on, you trust the mayor and myself and the city manager to finalize all that wording. I think we can get that tomorrow. You're gonna be available tomorrow to discuss it?
Certainly, I mean, again, I think we were there on Friday.
I thought we were at like 95%.
I think
There are two issues she raised at the property department, that the Saxon Gilmore raised, I'm going to discuss. But that I have to have voted on because they raised those issues that we go ahead and comment on one of the further. And, you know, I didn't say it will happen, that's fine, if we can decide, but any rate,
I think it would be prudent to go over the notes from that call. That way, all those changes that were made on the phone can be ratified here with the council. And then if that's voted on and approved, then we're probably good to go, other than what Jeff is going to bring up. So if you want to go through your notes, Kyle?
Yeah, so there was 4 things from the call on Friday, in terms of any changes. So paragraph 7.2 had to do with parking, which was already kind of discussed in the minutes. So all we asked for was that paragraph, it provides us for the parking, but it just, this paragraph survives the closing of this lease, because this lease will terminate and conveyance will happen. So again, this paragraph only says if the property is used for residential in the future, those parking spaces can be used by the developer. So we're just asking that that paragraph survive this closing of this lease and run with the land. So if in the future, not necessarily at the time that this conveyance happens, but 5 years or 10 years, if residential is used, then that option will be able to, that lease of the parking spaces will be available.
and the copy they have in front of them has that, it's just as a typo in it, it says the paragraph shall endure to the benefit of the land. Upon conveyances of the applicability to the developer should be inured, obviously. So I mean, that, once it goes to the covenants, you know, it's there.
The question that you brought up, Councilwoman, about the parking spaces, that's
That's the fact that spaces, we want to provide it up to the number of residences they provide.
8.3, I don't know if that's in provision that y'all are looking at, but we talked about getting credit for capacity fees for the use, the prior use of the property.
It's not in this copy that you have here, but basically I drafted a version of that, and that's here. That's it. This is what we went to on the phone. Brickell Building has historical water and wastewater usage based on past businesses occupying the building. There shall be a water and wastewater capacity fee credit for those uses once determined. And I define that as capacity fee credit. Any businesses added by developer having water and wastewater capacity fees in excess of the capacity fee credit must be paid unless excused by the city council. So just consider that in the agreement as 8.3.
basically what that says is that if you go buy a building somewhere in Animal Park that already exists, if it had a, let's say, hair salon, and you wanted to have a hair salon in there, you can go ahead and do that without having to pay additional capacity fee unless you're expanding that hair salon. So in this building, it's an old building, has a lot of other uses. Nobody sitting here knew exactly what that was, so if they discover something in the future, they would get credit for that use that had already existed, the same as every other building.
No, that's why it said whatever it is. They're gonna research it, see what they can figure out, but I don't know, in worst case scenarios, it's business office, you know, a bank or business office or whatever. And, you know, just have to try and figure out how many bathrooms you have and be, you know, generous with whatever we give the space.
Possibly, if they did put the apartments on there, it could be more uses than before.
Yes.
They have to verify.
Right, that that's true, but I was more concerned about cafes, restaurants.
Yeah, but
Really go higher.
there's a lot higher uses than others. Well, like, what we just saw the laundromat. Yeah, that's a case in point.
We don't know, but it probably be okay with the exercise place they want to put in there. I just don't think it's a fixed account. We don't do the engineers do that. So I'll figure that out.
Next item was on exhibit B, the restrictions called for just commercial use in the second recital. We asked for that to be mixed use. Obviously, we're talking about residential potentially on second story. Second recital, second line.
Yeah, so it's exhibit B, this.
Page 15 on my document.
Got it. Yeah, we have exhibit B here.
So I noticed that as part of one of the changes as of this today, there was deletion of the RFP and the proposal, all of that got deleted as exhibits and then added back in.
Totally agree. I don't know why they ended up with that. They picked up the wrong version or whatever. But it's probably happened by 9 versions. So if you look at the next one, it's not, it hasn't been titled, but it says form of restrictions, declaration of restricted covenants.
This will be page 86 of 250. If you're scrolling down.
So if you in a section for it's commercial, just put, we change to mixed use.
Which mixed use coincides with the C4 zoning, so we get the thumbs up from the zoning fellow tonight.
Anything else?
And then the last one is in this document, it uses declarant property, non-defined term. And I believe that was changed in one of the versions just to property rather than declarant property.
Which documents that?
That's the form restrictions as well. Uses declarant property throughout, that's not defined term.
This is declared property and should use what?
The property is out defined on some of the revised stuff. I believe it was mine, but I talked to you today.
Right. Okay.
So,
That's it?
that's all I had from our conversation Friday, yes.
The two things they raised from the property division at Saxon Gilmore was in the case of a casualty while it's under lease, there would be a circumstance, there could be a circumstance where, their insurance proceeds should go to the city, and then the city would control how the construction is done, or you the construction, and then ask for draws, and then we would just pay you based on the draws from the insurance proceeds. And the safety there is, I'm sure you're a fine fellow, but we just don't want, to go to somebody else and then they take off the insurance proceeds. I'm sorry about that. That's just a safety issue.
But isn't the city who's going to be carrying the casualty anyway? At least I don't think provides that the tenant is the one carrying the casualty. So
No, that was changed two versions ago.
well, I'd like to see that version because that's not. I haven't seen that version. Certainly liability as to the tenant will carry in on their equipment, but not as the casualty. We were talking about that at the last meeting.
But you're gonna be the building. If something you guys do starts a fire, you want our insurance to cover that. This is out there.
There's only going to be one casualty policy on the building, correct? There's not going to be
So
two.
we have
casualty.
backup casualty, just like any, it's a landlord tenant. The landlord always has a overall casualty provision, insurance coverage.
But you can't insure the property twice for the
Well,
same
no, you
casualty.
can't get proceeds twice, insurance is primary, that's what the insurance policy says. Your insurance is primary. And if for some reason your insurance company goes out of business, then of course, I will be able to step in and pay for it.
Can't say I'm familiar with carrying two casualty policies on the same property.
I've seen,
Sure, But again, that,
But it happens all the time because the landlord wants to cover, make sure that they don't, the insurance, that the cover is able to pay for it. And if it doesn't, then at least they're not protected. But
Kyle, you handle real estate law. So, I'm assuming that you come up with rental contracts and things like that in a regular course of your business. So how often would you say that a renter carries a casualty versus a landlord? Does it, the renter typically carries it, the landlord, both?
it really just depends on what kind of lease it is, whether it's triple net or not, how it's structured. Certainly commercial, it could be that shift to tenant. But it's again, who's got an insurable interest in the property is always the question. Tenant is only a tenant.
And you're talking about triple net, you're talking about a shopping center or something like that, where you have a common area, huge common area, that he's insuring, that is,
Triple net
building wide,
can be- triple net can be with any.
but you're talking about who's gonna have the whole building there, we're not gonna have any other tenants there. It's one sole tenant, so it's a huge difference. Shopping center type triple net.
Triple net isn't exclusive to a shopping center with multiple.
I know,
tenants.
I know it's not, but it's not appropriate for this type of circumstance here.
Well, triple net would be in your favor, not against your favor.
Well,
Triple
I
net
know,
would be
but we
where
don't
all
need that
the costs
during
are
the good
not.
of the insurance.
I'm not sure, are you arguing against the triple net
Well,
here?
no, we're talking about maintenance, we're not maintaining anything, you're maintaining the whole thing. That's one part of it.
We're talking about insurance, we're not talking about maintenance. I'm not following. The question is who should be carrying the casualty? I think that's where we should focus the conversation.
Well, here's a question I would have for staff. So the city owns quite a few buildings that we lease. We've got some hangars and lots of palladiums and things like that. So does any of our tenants carry casualty insurance in any of those? That we're aware of?
That we're aware of.
Okay. So perhaps staff could find that out and relay that. City attorney. So I guess we'd be looking for, that's a question of the council. If we don't have any of our other tenants that do it, do we want to do it in this instance? I guess is the question.
Well, I think, like you said, Mayor, we only have one tenant, so they're basically in control of the building. So I would think they're responsible.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that,
We own the airport, is multiple little tenants all over.
right, but it's one tenant in one building at the airport, the same. So for instance, Ag Flying Services, they lease the old Dental Griffin hangar. That's one. Classic Palladiums is one. Any other buildings that we got?
They're not renting the whole airport, they're just renting.
No, they're renting that building, just like they're not renting the entire town, they're renting one building. I'm getting that. What I'm saying is if we don't let anybody else do it, do we want to make them do it? Open to comment.
The city attorney said.
I agree. If the city attorney said that they should, I agree that they should. I mean, he's the legal guy here. And not only that, I still look at this Brickell building that's different than what we rent. This is totally different. And I don't think it should be compared with that.
Anybody else?
We have shopping centers where those circumstances, they're making a lot of money on those things. So in this case, you're not making anything, you're just trying to get a usable building, and you're giving them the building for free.
Okay. Next.
Anything else? I mean, okay, the only other thing-
Just for the record, you're not giving me the building, we're putting upwards of $500,000 into the infrastructure of the building to earn it. So I just didn't want it to be left with that.
Okay, nothing's coming into the city pocket. Okay,
There's still a cost.
Anything else?
Revert. I know with the reverter, I understand what your position is, what they're talking about is that they said it's, what if they don't insure the building after it goes into, their ownership? And 10 years from now, it burns down, or 5 years from now, or whatever, because, they didn't have money to pay insurance. I understand that logic doesn't follow, because why would they not insure a building and spend all the money on it to fix up? I just did this for them, and so I just want to revert. What the reverter would do would you say, if you don't buy insurance within 30 days, then the building's gonna return to our ownership, not your ownership. And, it's a pretty aggressive, clause.
Non-typical.
Well, it's not typical, either, but yeah, it's not typical.
Any comments?
Yeah, I have a comment for Mr. Burke. Mr. Burke, let me make sure I understand this. So if once they inherit the, wrong word, but once they get the building from us, let's say in the next 18 months, while they working on the building catch fire.
This would be after the lease, not during.
After the lease, the building catch fire. Who's responsible for it?
Well, they would be responsible for
If
it,
it's after the lease, they're.
After the lease, they're responsible.
but you're having them build this building and correct it so you have foot traffic and so on. You're giving some value, it's not a lot of value. But like I said, it's an aggressive clause, basically, we're taking away what he's invested in. It's been raised by that's why I have to pay for it.
It's an extremely rare circumstance that would ever play out that way.
I just have one question. So let's just say if there's a fire and everything burns down inside, okay, how do you collect on your loss?
Insurance.
So you insure everything that's inside the building.
In one of the original, I believe the one we looked at on Friday, the way the agreement was written is that we would carry insurance on all the interior improvements and then machinery or anything like that, as we're in the lease. And then, but I believe they're talking about outside the lease. So are you referring to during the lease period or after?
I say, well, I think during.
There is insurance during, that's already a given.
I think afterwards, so basically what you're saying, you would cover insurance for everything that's inside, and we would just cover the building outside, period?
During the lease, yes. And then after the transfer of the property, then of course we'd have casualty insurance on it.
Now, how many years you plan? 2 or 3?
I'm sorry, what?
How many years before we turn the building over to you?
Well, once we get it CO.
It's a maximum of 3 years.
Yeah, within 3 years. I mean, we're hoping to have the CO in, 12 to 18 months.
Obviously, the city would want them to get it done ASAP.
So, you want to vote on that reverter clause? We want to include it in the contract, which I think they're saying that they would not accept that.
I think it's not a very wise decision for us to do. So, do we have I make a motion that we do not include the revert clause. Is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion, a second, any further questions?
Please explain further.
Okay. So the reverter clause is after the lease is done, we would mandate that they keep insurance on a building that they've already spent a bunch of money on, so they're going to have insurance on. And if they don't have insurance on it, they would come back to the city. That's the reverter clause. So let's say they skip a payment, potentially, if the city wanted to be a stickler, they could take the building away because they missed an insurance payment and lost their insurance.
There had to be some notice. Opportunity to cure, but nevertheless, it's aggressive.
Like I said, unusual and aggressive.
After they take over the lease of the building. They definitely have to.
Well, no, we don't have any backup at all. Once they take the deed, after this, they get a CO, they get a deed, the building's theirs.
Okay.
But as a covenant in the deed, there can be what's called reversion to the provision. If something happens, the city gets the building back. And the something here is if they don't get insurance to make sure that the building continues, to prosper and bring foot traffic that you asked for and so on, then it would go back to the city.
And that deed restriction is not for 2 years. It's for the life of the deed, as that restriction is in place. That's 30 years from now. A future owner doesn't have insurance on the property.
Yeah.
It goes back to the city of Avon
Or
Park.
100 years from now.
It's So I understand.
It burdens the property, the value of the property significantly to have that type of automatic trigger.
But I have a question for the attorney. Why wouldn't you done spend this kind of money on this building? Why wouldn't you want insurance?
That's
I
right.
would.
So that's
Why does
valid,
that say?
but why should the city doesn't have, at that point, again, it's owned by the developer. Let them be the one to determine. Keep insurance, if they want to self-insure. If you have a wealthy investor come in and they want to self-insure, you're not even giving them that option to do that.
It just further complicates something that doesn't need to be. Oh,
I guess
so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions on that? This is just for the reverter clause. We'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
No.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
No.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
I just want to, before we close this out, I mean, I'll make these changes and we'll talk about it again tomorrow, but just reading one of the 100 definitions of triple net lease, form real estate lease agreement where the tenant and lessee are responsible for ongoing expenses of the property, including real estate taxes, building insurance, and maintenance. I mean, I've signed those leases before, so.
Well, that was my point. You were arguing against the triple net.
No,
That's why I was
in
saying that the
this
triple net,
case-
a tenant would pay all of the
If
costs.
I were the landlord of the shopping center, I would do it, but this is not the same situation. It's the building, you're gonna be in the building, and all the building, you're gonna maintain it. You're gonna pay the taxes, it's in the contract, you're paying the taxes.
That's that. So a triple net, the tenant pays taxes, insurance, and maintenance.
No, I understand that.
But so are you saying that the tenant should pay that or the tenant shouldn't pay that?
I'm saying that they should. You're going about the triple net issue. And it's not a triple net. This is not a triple net situation. This is simply a situation where you're paying for casualty insurance and you're maintaining the building and you're paying the taxes, but it's all here in the contract. I don't have to say it's a triple net lease, guys.
I wasn't. I had to say that.
All right. So are we going to vote on each individual thing or what?
Is that?
On all the changes that were made. There was 4 changes that he brought up originally. You didn't seem particularly opposed to any of those 4 changes. Nor did anyone else.
Seems like we're okay.
Okay, so should we vote on those changes?
I would say including also in the provision if there's any other minor differences that the attorney and mayor and the city manager can work with them and finalize those, because I think this is pretty much very, very close to it.
Okay.
If you want to come back to you, then we'll do that.
We need to discuss the additional restriction. There's a blank spot in there for additional
That's
restriction.
right. We're just trying to hammer down what we've already talked about. Okay. So does anyone have any questions on the changes that we're talking about right now? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
Go ahead and make the motion.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Ms. Taylor.
Just to vote on the provisions that we agreed to by votes, and I read to you. The next item then is the, I'm sorry. Which is the new table, so I thought that was.
Go ahead, Christian.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. Next item, the covenants. As we discussed at the last meeting, there's, if you have any issues that you want to include in the covenants, now is the time to do that. So you were wondering about what exactly might be something that would come up in that regard. I mean, I looked at it, like I said, right now, Jeff has pointed out, it doesn't, marijuana sales would not be included in C4. It would have to be a C2 because pharmacy, the statutes have changed and say that it can be anywhere in commercial area, but I leave that, to you. But with regard to the C4 zoning, some things were like a garage, is a whole bottom section will take up by garage. Would that be something you'd have a problem with? Jeff, can you come up and maybe talk about any other possibilities?
Yeah, and if you have a microphone there, you're welcome to whatever you want.
Just one quick comment on medical marijuana situation. The city voted on a year, 2 or 3 years ago that we only allow at that time the business on 27 would be on Main Street.
Yeah, it was in C2 and pretty much all of C2 is Highway 27.
I'm just simply saying the way the law is changing this for this particular product. It may very well be that in the future you can't make that type of differentiation between other commercials and so on. That's just my prediction.
Yep.
So I'll speak to the C4 use. We provided a memo for you all. Essentially, this property had gone through a PUD rezoning about less than a year ago. The intent of that rezoning was simply to acknowledge the additional multifamily units on the property. Before that, the property had C4 zoning. So the C4 zoning is essentially your downtown commercial business district. It's your Main Street district. It's a different character than you have in the other commercial districts throughout the city. As the city attorney was mentioning, I know medical marijuana had come up. Right now, you can only have that in where pharmacies are allowed. So for instance, in the C4 zoning district, that's just strictly prohibited. You can't have that use in the C4. So at the time, right now, point in time, that type of use would not be able to come in. Now, even in the future, unless statute changes and the city were to amend their code, right now, the recommendation by the planning council and the intent of the multifamily or the PUD that was adopted would be that any commercial uses that are allowed in the C4 would essentially be allowed in this building, just like any other property within Main Street or within the C4 zoning district. The agreement, my understanding is the agreement that you all are putting together. If you want to put restrictions on that, then you can do that, but C4 should be a baseline for that. So the memo that we provided for you all is to show you what's allowed in the C4 zoning district. And if there's anything in there that the city or in this case, the applicants or whoever would want to see in there or not in there, the agreement can certainly address that. So what you have in front of you is essentially a baseline to show you what could go in that building, consistent with that area. So we'll answer any questions to that.
So as Jeff said, there's a full list of things that are currently allowed. So is there anything on that list that anyone has questions about? This will be specifically page 102 and 103 of the packet.
I don't necessarily have a question. There's just certain things that I really want to see that.
Okay, such as?
Mechanic shop, liquor store, marijuana hub, laundromat, daycare.
We already have down there. We already have all that.
I know, that's why we don't need it in that room.
Okay, but you realize that what you're talking about is putting a restriction on them forever.
Sin forever.
Well, I would encourage you to read over the list of C4 uses. This list was created for our downtown. So many generations of council have gone through and made minor changes to this list. This is the downtown list. So,
I did ask the add provision, and I don't think it should be forever, that allows us, the council to, in the future, remove one of these restrictions from that. So if someday the council is more favorable towards marijuana, or towards garage, or something like that, and they want to remove that request, they would raise the request.
yeah, so if you look at the practical use of the building's already built out. Nobody's gonna put a mechanic shop in there. It doesn't make any sense. So it's not gonna happen. As far as the liquor store, it's retail sales. If somebody wants to sell shirts or whatever's allowed is allowed. You know, none of us up here are smart enough to know what the market's gonna be in 50 years. So to sit here and try to figure that out is absurd. Let business do business. We need to be open to encouraging businesses to come. We have a developer that's gonna be spending over $500,000, probably upwards of $1 million to fix this building. This building's been sitting here for decades, doing nothing for anyone. And now has the potential to be resorted back to the tax rolls, people in this building, get companies in this building. We're gonna be making money off this building through water, through sewer, through tax rolls, through the people that are gonna be going there spending money in other places at Avon Park. Get out of the freaking way and let business be business.
Mayor, you're not directing it to me personally, are you?
I'm directing it to everyone in this room. So are you in this room? I think you
I
are.
was the one that was talking about what I didn't.
This is no
did not want to
personal,
see.
anything between you and I.
Mayor, you're gonna have to be careful. I'm not
I'm sorry.
taking it.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. Talk.
That's enough.
No, that's enough for you.
That's enough.
That's enough for you.
That's
You,
enough.
you know, I watched you talk to Brenda Gray that way, but you're not gonna talk to me that way.
Ma'am,
Let's
you
make
will
sure we
not, you will not
understand
sit on this
that. You
dais
will
and make
not
threats
talk
against
to
me.
me that way,
All right,
okay?
let's stop right now. everybody.
You will not talk to me that way.
Stop.
Take a
You
break.
will not. I said again,
Jerry, can we have law enforcement get involved here or what?
you will not talk to me that way.
Heard what you said.
Thank you.
All right. As I said, it was directed to everyone in this room, not anyone in particular. But the point remains the same. Get out of the way of business in Avon Park. Avon Park needs to thrive. If we sit here and try to mandate every little thing, we're gonna end up with a worse version of what we already have. We're not where we want to be. We want this town to grow. We want people to come here. We want businesses to come here. So let's encourage that behavior.
And I encourage the same thing, that business come to Avon Park. But I have an opinion, just like you do, to decide what I would like to see that come to Avon Park.
I feel like we can all have a preference of what we would like to be in that building. However, if it's not in the best interest of all the citizens of Avon Park, I don't feel like we should put our preference over on these people who are trying to build up this building to help Avon Park. Because I can go down this list and say, yeah, I would prefer no, prefer no, prefer no. However, if it's inhibiting a building with multiple businesses from coming down to Avon Park, which is what I vowed to all of the people in Avon Park that I went and knocked on their doors that I was going to do, was to bring businesses into Avon Park. I feel like that's a personal preference that is getting in the way of Avon Park going forward.
Well, I don't think it's a personal preference. I think that Avon Park have enough of that on Main Street.
In
and
your
Avon
opinion,
Park.
though, in your
Exactly.
opinion, it's a
Exactly,
preference.
and I'm entitled.
Absolutely, I agree. Like I said, I would
Only thing
have
I'm
a preference
saying
as
is
well.
I'm very
I
entitled.
thought that Avon Park had enough of that already, and that this building was something special. That's what I thought. And that anything and everything shouldn't go in this building.
Right, as of March 28th, Avon Park has enough of all of that. However, what about March 28th, 2035? We may not have any of this stuff.
And I
on Main
also
Street.
stated that, no, it didn't have to be forever. I also stated that, or did you miss that part?
I did not, but what I did understand based on your statement is that we are putting restrictions on these individuals
Just
who would
to
like
see.
to come in.
Just to see how it works. Who knows? Next year, 2 years from now, we can remove that restriction. I just wanted to see how it works. Is that what we want? Is that what we
They
want?
have
That's not
already,
what
they have already put forth a plan
Right.
that we have read of what they plan to put in this building. They do not plan to do any of those other things on that
I'm
list.
more than sure there are other things that they're gonna do to that building that they haven't told us. The only
Okay,
thing
but
I heard was a coffee shop, a gym, possibly residence on the second floor, maybe a couple of gift shops or whatever. But I'm quite sure by the time this completion is over, it's gonna be more than that.
If it's fruitful and prosperous, yes, there will be many businesses in that building and it will benefit the citizens of
Well, I'm
Avon
quite
Park.
sure marijuana hub will be fruitful and prosperous. too, but that ain't what we're gonna see now.
However, if we wanted to be able to
This is-
control,
this- this
can I
can go-
finish my
this
comment?
can
Because I
go
listened to
on.
yours, Mrs. Taylor. I would like to
Okay,
finish mine.
you're
Thank
right.
you. All right, if we wanted to control every aspect of this building, then we should have taken out a loan as Brittany McGuire, or as Bernice Taylor down there at the bank, went down there and put our plan into motion. However, we did not come forward.
That's right.
These individuals came forward for the betterment of Avon Park. That is what we need to be proud of.
Don't try to act like this is all about April Park now. This is about them too. And he stated that, you know, it's not like we paying, it's not like we're not paying. You didn't pay for the building. Let's get that straight. You're paying for the construction of the building, okay? Now, you could have came in here and you could have purchased the building and then you still had to repair the building. Well, you didn't do that. You got the building for free. You got the building for free. And to come in here and don't expect any restrictions to be placed on it, I'm just appalled.
Well, we are saving money by allowing them to take this building. That's something that this council has set up here for years,
The thing-
debating is what can we do to get this building to where it's not costing us money, it's making us money, as well as the rest of the businesses down Main Street.
I agree with that too. But it still stands, I still stand, this is not just an ordinary building. We have given a lot to them toward this brickle building. We've given a lot.
What about the building across the street from it?
Talking about the check around?
No, the other building across the street.
What
Because
about-
it's still sitting there not doing anything.
Okay,
I mean, if we continue to have this go between and well, let's come back, well, let's take this out, let's do this, we might lose them. And then where are we gonna be?
with a building,
A vacant building?
with a building that still belongs to the city.
With the
I
building
just,
that
I
needs
just
$750,000
think
of
that, I
repair.
just think that, like I said, we have given a lot to them. We've given them things that they haven't even asked for.
And
But
Mayor
we've
Street-
given.
yep, Mayor Street. I've been a citizen on the outside as well as a council member on the inside of the construction building for 10 years or something. The bad idea to divide in the first place, even though somebody thought it was a good price, but it's just been sitting there the whole time. It wasn't maintained properly, so then it turned around and it became sucking up dollars of taxpayers to fix just the basics. One was, I don't know, so many thousands just to replace the roof, which wasn't replaced what it should have been, and then damaged the whole inside of the building. So basically what had happened is like people that approved to buy it from the city, inside, they were charged to maintain it, didn't do it. So they pretty much made the building unsellable, because we've tried for at least 2 years now to try to get somebody to make us an offer. Last year, several people came and looked at it who were interested in putting the business in Avon Park. They looked at the building and they just said, no way, it's not cost effective to do it. Even if they put 10 apartments upstairs, they said that would not be enough for them to pay for it. But I'm definitely for growth in the city of Avon Park. And I think I am grateful that this party has come forward, to take over the building, to take it off of our taxes, and don't turn around and pay water and so forth. And they're gonna put businesses on Avon Park. And I don't see anybody making something that's so obtrusive that we would let it stand, because I think that they would not want to hear council members up here telling you that's a bad choice, please don't do that. I don't think that's going to happen, and I don't think anybody in their right mind would do something like that, because you want to make sure your business grows too. And I think that I'm grateful that we have somebody who has enough interest to put their dollars down for it. The city has lost tons of money over the years by paying for it. The airport was paying for it for many, many years. And they were just paying interest. It's time to move forward. I appreciate your comments and your concerns. I appreciate your comments and concerns. But I think it's time just to calm down. We can all express our own opinions when we vote. So let's go ahead and move forward and let's make a vote on what's best for the city of Avon Park and the taxpayers of the city. Thank you.
Agreed. All right, so back to the restrictions where we started. The only thing that was discussed was marijuana sales. As Jeff had pointed out, you cannot currently do that because marijuana sales would only be allowed where a pharmacy is, and a pharmacy is currently not an allowed use in downtown.
That's right. Okay.
So it's a shame that we can't separate the two, because I think pharmacy would be a good fit, but I understand. So is there any other restrictions we want to put there?
I agree with you, Mayor. These restrictions have been put in over the years, and I have faith that these business people are not going to do something crazy that's going to cost them income. They're going to do something that's going to be positive for them. It's definitely be positive for the city. And I mean, some of these restrictions don't even make sense, like a police department, a fire department, things like that are not going to be done. You know, so if they decide to build a school for a free kindergarten inside there, I have no problem with that either. And we do the reading places for kids. I think to have an after school place that the guy wants to build a gym, so he might turn around and put some activities in there for small children as well as adults to come and use that. So that our kids will get used to that building. They get healthy, they exercise, and also bring income to them. It's also the more they make, the more taxes they pay. So
The daycare, I'm sorry, Mr. Jim, the daycare coming down there with adults, female and male, visiting the gym, you have to be careful with that.
But
There's
the health
plenty of-
department will.
Plenty of
see to
agencies
that.
that take care of that, so. Is there anything else as far as zoning goes?
no.
Seeing none. Is there no changes to make? Seeing none. Jerry, at this point in time, do we need a motion to approve the agreement?
Well, I think they wanted the parking restrictions.
The parking is already there, huh?
Under apartment.
Right, so they only get the parking if they do living upstairs.
So just do away with the deed restrictions up there.
Okay, any comments from you guys?
I would agree with that. You just have that particular paragraph about parking, say that it survives closing and it doesn't need to be in.
Right, which was part of your original comments, which has already been approved. Okay, is there anything else on that or anything else you think of?
I don't know if there's any other restrictions in there, but that aren't related to that fee.
Motion on this, or-
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a motion for the entire, agreement. All the things we've made now, just for changes to the agreement.
So the next, the other thing is word clause.
The reverter failed.
Does it fail? And
Okay. Okay. So other than any minor changes that are not substantive to the things that were approved tonight, the two attorneys can do. We have the ability to approve this agreement right now. So is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the agreement for the lease and sale of the Brickell building? So moved. We have a so moved and we have a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call a roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Pierce,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
No.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson.
I will abstain. I've said it before. I know the applicant.
Motion passes.
All right,
thank you for coming.
at long last, congratulations, guys. So obviously, there'll be a conversation that happens between Mr. Thompson and city attorney. Jeff, we thank you very much for your time. All right. Item number 10, we have a interlocal agreement between Highlands County and City of Avon Park related to recycling.
This is the interlocal agreement that came, we talked about the last time. Jerry had made some requested changes. It went back to the county. They sent it back. What you have in your packet is the red is Jerry's and the blue is the county attorney's, what she would accept, not accept. So it's up to you to what you want to move forward. Staff, I can tell, would like to move forward. We got a lot of people talking about it. We have
two sharp guys from the county here, Gator and Bob, who I know both very well, and asked them to come here tonight and talk to you about what's going on basically with the recycling and Gator's being hit pretty hard from his commissioners. Yeah.
Good evening. I guess I used to say good morning, but good evening. Clint Howard, Junior County Engineer for the record, but I go by here, so, and Bob Thorpe here as well. Mostly here to answer questions. If you have any questions, I think you're pretty much aware of what we're wanting to do. But we're hoping to enroll and have a recycling program that encompasses the city of Maple Park residents in our program. Because previously when we had the curbside, it didn't. I know you had your own curbside program and it also was by the police side as well. It's very expensive to do those kind of programs. And so we're hoping to do something for the collection point that's a centralized location that everyone in the community can use, work together. So we're wanting to work together as a team to come up with a location and a site that we can use, and we'll have our contractor, our vendor, will pick up the bins. They will also staff the facility. So we'll only be open while when someone's there and staffing it. That way they can kind of monitor what goes in the containers. So we don't get a lot of contamination that we were getting garbage and things like that was happening in yours as well as ours when we were collecting that material. And so this material hopefully it will be very clean when it's coming in as recycling, as it should be. And so it should be hopefully a benefit for the Highlands County and for the city all together. And so we're asking you for your blessing on moving forward with an agreement so we can get started to do this. We plan on fencing off an area there by the water plant. On the water plant, there's a site that we got together and we selected back on February 4th as the best one. And, so if that's agreeable, then we would get started to do that work and make that happen. And, we're ready to go. So we can get.
I just have one comment. Paragraph that said that you will have somebody from the county, person maintain it during working hours. And by doing so, that will make sure it doesn't get contaminated. And that's the way that you could actually make money or at least pay for itself, correct?
Well, it's not going to make money. I'll just go ahead and tell you, recycling does not make money. So it costs money. And but the county is paying that as part of our contract, as part of our countywide contract for this service. So when we modified our contract with them, it was provide provide this service, a drop off location. So collect these bins and then take the bins. The material would be taken to the sorting, or not really a sorting facility, a transfer facility that's located at the landfill. But it's a transfer facility there where it would be loaded and taken to their sorting facilities, and then they would then take it and take it up to the recycling material.
Well, basically, our taxes are going to the county, have to pay for this.
No, your taxes do not. Actually, the money that would be paid for this is actually in the assessments, the solid waste assessment that are being collected. So it's not really part of the overall tax system. Part of that solid waste assessment is what's paying for this. So it's county residents that are
only county residents pay that. That's it.
I just want to point out that if you agree with the agreement that they proposed, that you will be responsible for any contamination that they cause with their activities. They basically have said they're not even willing to promise to comply with environmental laws like CERCLA and RCRA and things like that everybody's required to comply with. But those are the changes that I made. I simply said we need to have some kind of a baseline because it's your property. I'm sure somebody's going to be watching it, but that's often not enough. And as long as you understand that you'll be responsible for it on this agreement, not that.
How would that process? If they didn't want you to know about it, it got contaminated, and then the county didn't get whatever certain amount of money it's supposed to do for it, and you have to make up the difference because it's contaminated.
No, it's talking about land contamination, fuel spill or something like that.
Yeah, anybody in the chain of title has responsibility for environmental contamination. It's a very strange type of law that it's called strict liability. Doesn't matter whether you had a fault or not. If you own property, you're at fault. Period. In the story, and that's why these clauses are generally included in this type of contract where somebody's going to use your land like leases, our airport leases have this type of clause in it. It's on it, because somebody can use your property, then they need to be responsible for not contaminating.
So a few questions. City of Sebring, sound like last of they looked approved.
Yes, it's already been approved by both of those sections already.
Okay. This is gonna have a fence all the way around it?
Yes, sir.
So currently, this piece of property does not have a fence on it at all. So, we're exposed to liability that, somebody could drive out there and pour whatever the heck they want. And, it's not a city staff location. Yes, city staff does go there occasionally to monitor the wells and everything, but there's nobody out there. So, this has been an exposed property for a great number of years. Now it's going to be under lock and key with a staff member. So it's highly unlikely that anything like that would happen, not to mention the materials that they're bringing in are not hazardous. They're not prone to being hazardous.
And actually, on that, it'll help us out because we've had to run some homeless people off from this area. So
Right. As well as a great many teenagers and, you name it over the years.
I didn't grow up here.
Okay. Anyhow, so like I said, it's highly unlikely that there will be an issue. The other two towns have already approved it, and, the people of Avon Park were very sad to see the recycling leave, but unfortunately it was far too expensive. This program is similar to what the county used to provide many years ago, where you had bins all over the city, and there again, the issue was that people were putting the wrong thing in the wrong bin, right?
Right, and we had been at this location, this exact location before as well.
Right.
It was not fenced off, was not staffed, and so, yeah, we had garbage contamination then. Hopefully this will not.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a lot of happy people to see them back there. It is a very central location to probably the bulk of the residents of Avon Park. So, people are within walking, biking, driving distance of this place. So I think ultimately it'd be a good thing.
You're gonna hire people to do this, or you gotta have people there to do it?
Waste Connections already has them hired to staff it, so if they're already on staff and ready to go. So we're just waiting for agreement so we can put fence up and bring the bins.
I have a question. So when I look at the map, I see that there's an entrance gate and an exit gate, and then there's one little structure that's over in the trees. Is that like an office of some sort?
That's an existing little gazebo shelter thing that's there already.
Oh.
So it's
So
like-
where's the person that's gonna stay here during the day? Where's he gonna stay? Where's this little?
Yeah, they'll be probably walking up and down, back and forth there with the cars whenever they're unloading, so they'll be
Okay,
mostly there
so
by
what-
the
when
end.
the cars aren't there, what's he gonna, I mean, where is he gonna be able to go when the weather gets bad and inclement?
Right, so that shelter, some from sunlight, yes, but if the weather's bad, probably just get a vehicle or something like that, so.
So he's not gonna leave for the whole time?
Yeah, we're looking at probably about 4 hours a day, it's up to 10 hours per week. It'll be-
Oh.
So it's not a long time, and we're going to break that up into at least 2, if not 3 different days.
So you're gonna have the hours posted Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12 to 2, with that kind of thing?
Yes,
Oh.
exactly. So we'll bring that back to the council as well, kind of get approval on the hours that it can be operational once we get going and start kind of working on the schedule. I guess all three.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll be looking for a motion.
Make a motion for the 10 for the local agreement between the city and the county related to recycling.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Look forward to it. Item number 11, we have the acceptance of DEO Community Development Block Grant Mitigation.
I'll start it off, Mayor, then give it to Melody. Just to give, because we have still 3 members on here that don't know how this all started, but this actually started back in 2020. The council, we put out a RFQ and selected Guardian, Corbett to put in for these grants with a lot of the city's assistance. And at the time, there's a lot of money coming down from the feds, which there still is, making money, I guess. But there was a hardening grant. One of them was we put in for the harden the firehouse. Then we had 3 planning grants. One was for water, wastewater, stormwater. And we had infrastructure grants for drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater. About a year later, in 2021, we got a notice of being awarded the one for the hardening grant for the fire station, $894,087. And also then we received one for the drinking water at $670,622. So of the several we put in for, we did receive 2 of them. And in that time, it's taken so long to finally get the award and the agreement because all this money was being pushed down from the feds to the state, and DEO couldn't keep up with it. I was actually on, when you're awarded it, you have to actually go on basically a Zoom, it wasn't Zoom, but that anybody that's awarded, someone from that city or county has to go in, and they told us straight out they didn't have enough people. In fact, they told us, if you know anybody that wants to be a manager of this for DEO, let us know, we're looking for people. So it's taken this long, and the chief's back there up like a fire, but he's back there. He knows how long it's been a pain in the butt, and Nellie got here, and I said, you think you're only going to be the finance director? Well, you got to oversee grants right now until council gets another position for that, but anyhow, they've done a lot of work. We finally got these grants for you to approve. It's going to really hopefully improve the fire department again, just like when we were talking about the sod grants. We're running into quotes we got for putting the roofs on and that, and now to give us quotes, they say it's good today, it might be not be good tomorrow because of the material and that stuff going up. But with that, I just want to give a little history how we got here. It just didn't happen overnight. Somebody gave us a bunch of money, and you didn't know.
Okay, so the first one that you have before you is DEO agreement number M2039 for $670,623 to overhaul the city's drinking water system, which consists of installation of 250 linear feet of 12-inch pipe under Highway 27, 2 chlorine skid systems and program logistic controls at both Crystal Lake and Glenwood water treatment plants. If you see page 22 of the agreement, it will give you more detail, but you also have Corbett Alday from Guardian on Zoom if you have any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Corbett? Seeing none, we look for a motion.
Make a motion, we go ahead and approve item number D11 for grant for
$670,623.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? And then we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passed.
Item number 12.
So this is the second agreement before you. It's DEO agreement number I-0122 for $894,087 for the hardening of the fire station, which includes hurricane rated roofs, wind rated doors and windows, and interior building and electrical upgrades. There's a lot more to that. If you see page 22, it gives you more in detail.
Okay. Any questions for Melody on this? Seeing none? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve D12.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Item number 13, Planning and Zoning Board. Christian?
Yes, so we, ordinance 20-11 provides that the board will consist of 7 members with 2 alternates, which are each appointed by city council. We do have several, planning and zoning board members who are coming up on their term expiration. They have all agreed that they want to be reappointed. So that is what this agenda item is about today. The expiration is April 22nd. It's board members Gordon, Cummings, Miller, Hernandez, and West.
So 7 is the maximum?
There's not a maximum that I'm aware of. I know that it's 3 staggered terms and they are allowed to have consent.
Okay. Is there anyone else that's has applied?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have any vacancies?
We do have 1 vacancy on the alternate. And actually, I spoke to someone today about that and sent the application. So fingers crossed, we get on to you.
Kristen, how long has the one been, the name been on the alternate list?
Are you speaking of Gilbert? Yes. She was appointed October 2020 and then reappointed again for to 2023.
Does the council want to consider moving the alternate to a permanent position?
I would love to consider it. She's been on the list, what, 2 years now? Obviously, they're interested.
Okay, I would make a suggestion that Ms. Jordan has been there for a great many years and we very much appreciate her service, but I think that maybe it's time for get some fresh blood in there. How does the council feel about that, changing Ms. Gilbus for Ms. Jordan? Or we can. Anyone want to make that motion? You can use a so move. This would be for that change and the re-up of the rest. Reappointment of the rest.
I mean, I don't want to just like. Because, you know, she's always, she's been there forever. I think we should maybe confront her and see if she's, you know, done and would she be willing to proceed to.
Okay. We can put it off until a future meeting if it's what you.
Yeah, because we're good to April 22nd, so.
We've got one meeting in between now and then, right? Okay. So we'll need to contact them before our next meeting.
And advertise for others that. Just kind of advertise it out.
I talked about it.
Does the council think it'd be a good idea to put it out for advertisement just to see what happens in the next couple weeks?
The one vacant one for the alternate is,
The
website.
vacancy is-
they posted.
It is an advertisement for a alternate position, though,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So would the council be in favor of putting out applications for a full-time position and just see what transpires?
I think we should let people know about it. They've never been to any of the meetings, they wouldn't know when they're going to be up with.
Right.
Things like that, they might be interested.
Well, it's an ongoing problem that most people don't have any idea what in the world actually goes on. It's a lot of these board meetings and things that they don't pay much attention. So the more publicity that we can give it, all the better.
Are we allowed to put that on the website here? Is it
Yeah,
posted on there?
That's where it's posted, right?
Yes, sir.
It is posted.
And I'm sure radio hosts might discuss it. Sure.
Barry Foster, News Director, Highlands Radio Group. Are there any restrictions on who can serve on this board? Some boards have restrictions for architects and such as that. Are there?
There's not for employment. Is there a residency requirement?
Yes, sir. They have to live in the office.
Okay, that's within city limits.
In city limits or in towns?
So any human being within the boundaries, who lives within the boundaries of the city of Charlotte. can apply.
Yes.
Thank you.
Obviously, we would hope that they have at least an interest in real estate or development or construction or something along those lines that would hopefully qualify them to make such decisions.
Can I recommend something that we just put it out short, because if we put it out, we won't have a forum if we need them. If they're not sworn back in.
This will be advertised only until our next meeting. And we should probably end it at 5 o'clock the day before, that way you have enough time to put everything out there. All right, does anybody want to close with that? No. All right, that's what we'll do. Moving on to city manager report.
Your next meeting, you'll have the airport management agreement with FAM.
Okay.
Again, for just a little back history on the next one, the city's recycling garbage cans, got for discussion. Last year sometime, I guess, maybe more than that, remember I came in front of you about the City of Lake Placid wanting our used ones that we don't use anymore. And you said, yeah, whatever we can gather up. Well, since that time, unbeknown to me, and actually the staff that's here, we found 730 brand new ones housed out the airport hangar, which we're going to be moving out so that the FAM gets in, have another hangar. We reached out, I had Andy Mogul reach out to who we bought them from. They'll buy it back for 90 cents a piece. We got to take all the wheels and axles off, ridiculous. I got Phil Williams, who's the town administrator in Lake Placid, who I know from my law enforcement days, and he's retired from law enforcement too. He would like 200 of them. They're like 200 shy. My recommendation is we give him 200 of them, and the rest of them, I talked to Rick Reed and Anthony, and they think that they've got another place that we can keep them, and we use them for around like in the city parks, or we use them in City Hall or that, or where other people want small ones, not the big ones, that we can use them, but I don't think we're gonna use 730 of them.
So just a thought, obviously more than happy to help out the town of Lake Placid, but you know, things are going for pretty ridiculous prices at auctions these days. And I bet if we auction them off in smaller quantities, you know, maybe 20, 30 at a time, we probably could get some decent money out of them.
We can try that. We talked about that too.
Okay. So would the council be opposed to them auctioning off some of them?
I know there's still some people around that have theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they don't put them out, if they put them out by the street, we take them, but they can't go behind the house.
Right, but is it possible for us to put a flyer or a notification to, you know, let's get these picked up again?
Yeah, we have several times, and people don't much care. I think what happened is everybody that wanted to get rid of them out of their yard got rid of them, and then everybody that wanted to use them for the same thing that utilities were talking about using them for, that's what it was. He was talking about using them like around their shops and things. Okay.
No, we had 4 of our staff trained out of APCI and referenced the inmates coming out of the wastewater treatment plant. They're gonna have another class for the 2 that were actually off, so we can get them through. And Bernice, do you want to bring up about the Heartland Regional Transportation Planning Organization about what you can?
I made the decision last week, I spoke too soon that I could be on that committee, but as I looked at my schedule, I sent Mark an email letting me know I can't.
Okay. Any other volunteers? Jim, what you got going on? Once a quarter. You want to talk about some highways? Highway? DOT? Yeah. Talking about the HRTPO. So the HRTPO is basically, it's a board set up for the Heartland Regional Transportation. And they basically help give DOT recommendations as to where we need highways, where we need roadways, some improvements, things like that. Originally, when it came up, we had suggested one council person, they couldn't do it. And we suggested Denise, she couldn't do it. So now I served on it several go-arounds. Brittany couldn't for scheduling conflicts. So if you can't do it, then I guess I'll do it again. It's only once a quarter.
They have 2 tentatively scheduled, one for June 25th, one for September 25th at 10 a.m. The location hasn't been assigned yet.
Yeah.
You can sign me up for that.
Generally speaking, there's one important meeting per year where you get to actually have some input. The rest of it is very long-term plans, you know, the DOT does things sometimes 50 years out. So, you know, a lot of it's very hypothetical. You never get to see it probably in any of our lifetimes, but when it does happen occasionally, it's cool. So,
Okay.
it is an important thing. It's just, like I said, it's kind of a oversight sort of thing. It's not really a very hands-on decision-making position.
Very much.
They do not, but they should in some of them because they go on quite lengthy. And they get a little dry. Not gonna lie.
Talk me into it.
All right, good man. Anything else?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The sound system, what are we doing with the sound system in here? How close or how far are we up?
Funny you ask.
Yeah.
Jim asked me the same question earlier, and I spoke to Tony Bassett, who originally we had contacted or contracted with, and a lot of his stuff is coming from Asia. And so where he's gone to trying to get part A and part B of the same make, whatever comes in first. And so now it's to the point where I can get this, but I can't get this, or, you know, it's like the doors and windows all over again.
Right.
Like 6 months plus to get it, and then they revise it and say it's gonna be another 4 months on top of the 6 months. So he's just waiting for the pieces and parts. And when I talked to him today, it was more of, well, when you finally get all the stuff, do you have the labor to do it? He said, that's not a problem. It's just I've got to get the stuff first
Okay.
to be able to do it. And he's still waiting on most of the parts to show up. So,
Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.